What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I'm back with another review. This time I'm reviewing the Marvel Select Silver Surfer. This is a figure I had for a long time, and I took these pictures, and I just never got around to it, so I'm doing it now. It's a pretty good figure, too. It's a figure, he's one of my all-time favorite Marvel characters. He used to be my favorite Marvel character, period. And then they depowered him so that he can get his ass whooped by the Hulk, and I was just like, for real? But Lemme was the perfect Silver Surfer artist. I've seen a couple concept arts that were pretty dope, but Lemme was it for me, and this kind of captures the feel that I got from the Lemme run, and a little bit of the Jack Kirby kind of feel to his overall look. But I'm gonna go into what makes this a pretty decent figure to own. Alright, so when you look at this figure, the first thing you're going to notice, because he's all silver, is the details on his face and his musculature. And, Marvel Select, they're never slouches when it comes to this. These figures are always just works of art as far as the sculpting and the paint goes. Excuse me. Um, they picked a really cool kind of silver, and, it's just reflective enough that your figure doesn't look cheap. It doesn't look like a vac metal dollar store toy, and that's what he's been suffering from in the years prior to this, even with some of the Toy Biz versions. But I mean, he has exactly what he needs. The only thing I would have done differently is probably not sculpted briefs onto him. I would have just sculpted his body like that is his body. You know what I'm saying? Kind of how he looked in the Fantastic Four film, because he was the best looking thing in the film. Um, he has, obviously his board, and he's posable enough to look like he is surfing through, the cosmos, which is, there's a plus and a minus to this, and I'm going to get into that in just a second, but first we're going to get to the accessories. So he has just a handful of accessories, which I really wouldn't have given him that much besides the board and maybe some alternate hands, maybe even an alternate face. But they went and they gave him a bunch of accessories. One in particular is pretty cool because got that he actually had this accessory, and you can see it right there. It's the glove that's sitting there, but it's got the glove, the two extra hands, the cosmic blasts or bolts, and then he has his surfboard. Pretty cool, very standard, not a big deal. Surfboard, it's the perfect length. It looks right next to him, and he holds on to it via pegs, and pretty much you can get some decent motion, movement, good poses out of it, and that coupled with the alternate hands really helps. The cosmic bolts, you just put those on top of one of the other pairs of hands. They kind of just fit in the grooves, and it looks really cool. And nothing to complain about there. It's kind of what I would have expected. I just wish it had those Kirby dots that Kirby always does, like the Pym particle type deals. Um, there's alternate hands for something like this where he's maybe stopping or slowing down time or something like that. And you can dramatically pose him in that kind of way, or it's the more traditional way of utilizing his splayed out or open kind of hand is him surfing the cosmos, and it's weird. There are pluses to his hands working like this, but there's things about the rest of the figure that kind of take away from the fact that this figure can do this. So I don't know. It's a plus and a minus, like I said. And I'm going to get into it a little bit more. But, I mean, just judging from just using the hands themselves, like poses like this, it's freaking amazing. He looks like comic book artwork. Good comic book artwork, and that's what I really dig. But now we're going to get to the infamous Infinity Gauntlet. It's kind of a big deal these days because this is what Marvel has been building up to in their cinematic universe, and, with no Silver Surfer, no Adam Warlock yet, it's kind of weird. No Galactus. It's just like, But I like the way that this looks. It kind of just sits on his wrist, but they've detailed all the gems, and it's got a nice little wash on it, and it just looks cool. And I think, God, it's been so long since I've read the Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War, but I have them. I'll probably take them out after I'm done doing this review and, refresh my memory. I just remember there was a story where he got the Infinity Gauntlet, but I think he wasn't worthy enough to use it because he wanted something for himself. And I guess, you're supposed to kind of use it for the betterment of mankind and not for any selfish gain. Um, Norrin Rad wants nothing more than to bring back his homeworld that was taken by Galactus. But I don't know. It's a really cool accessory. It's not a must-have, but it works for the Silver Surfer because, the classic Silver Surfer, he was involved in those kind of storylines and stuff. So that's just a cool thing to have. His articulation's real simple. Essentially, you're looking at a maquette, a muscular male maquette, and I think it's kind of funny, but his arms move out that much. Very simple. He does have a bicep swivel, which is cool. Marvel Selects typically have those. He has an elbow bend at the elbow. It's about 90 degrees. That works really well. It's a little bit less than 90 degrees. His arms go straight up. I'm pretty sure you can do 360 degrees. I just never do that because it's stupid. I'm not going to break his arms just to pose, the figure. They can go down at his sides pretty well. He does not have a, or does he? Yeah, he has a waist joint. I forgot about that. And it's a cut, so like when you turn him, you have the excess, stuff showing out. Now, there is a problem with this figure. I'm going to get to it right now. He has wide-jointed hips. Now, some people are like, wide-jointed hips? That's not a big deal. It is for me, because how Silver Surfer kind of leans forward with one leg bent in front of him and the other foot outstretched behind him and both hands out at the sides, and it looks like almost like a bullet or a dart or like a hood ornament or something, with him just perfectly aerodynamic, floating through the air or flying through the air at a high speed. You can't do that with this figure. And I was frustrated because I'm sitting there trying to make those poses and I can't. The best you can do are poses where his legs are very far apart, but that's the other problem. He has no thigh swivel, he has no boot swivel, and he has no ankle swivel. He has ankle pivot though, so you can kind of basically pose him according to the distance and freedom that you get from the pivot, but that's it. And that's a no-no for a character like this who's supposed to be kind of free while he's on this board. You're supposed to be able to do, there's a lot of character specific poses, so this is boo to you, Marvel Select, for this. So back to the articulation. His legs go up about that much in front of him, which means they kind of stick out to the side, which sucks, and it's definitely not my favorite thing about this figure. He's got double jointed knees, which is a plus. I like that. It's one of the few places where he actually really shines because, once you get to the waist, from the waist down, you realize that there's all kinds of issues, especially because of the wide jointed hips. And here, the absence of a ankle swivel. You have the ankle hinge and you have the ankle rocker or pivot, but you have no twist or hinge. I'm sorry, no swivel or twist at the ankle. So you can't really turn his feet. You kind of, I don't know, you have to make do. And then on mine, it looks like he has two left feet. Was that two right feet? Two left feet, yeah. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but do you see what I'm talking about? From the angle, the outside of the foot should be kind of flat and the inside should be, have the little jut in. But, you still are able to utilize, his articulation from the waist down to get him to, do poses like this. So he can kind of have a wide-legged stance. It's just the subtle poses, leaning forward and leaning back, and the legs acting appropriately, that it's near impossible to do. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag from the waist down, I guess. Now, overall, if you don't have a Silver Surfer figure, this would probably be the one to get. He's actually a decent price, and the sculpt is so nice. I mean, it's light years better than the sculpt on all of the Toy Biz and Hasbro versions. It's just his articulation is funky. The pose that I'm complaining about, that you can't do, that you constantly see the Silver Surfer in, you could do with any of the Toy Biz or Hasbro versions. I want to say I know you could do it with the Toy Biz versions. I'm not sure about the Hasbro versions, but it's worth it if you don't have him or if you just need some cosmic characters. I've been a fan of the Silver Surfer, and I'm not just saying it just to sound like, I'm a super fan or some shit, you know what I mean? It's just a character I always dug, and, in the 90s, 80s and 90s, I dug him a lot, and I even went back and read some of the older stuff, older Silver Surfer books, and it's pretty cool, and this is a good reimagining or a good representation of the figure in figure form. So, you can't go wrong with them except for those damn legs. So anyway, it's the Marvel Select Silver Surfer. I'm Strident. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. Peace outside.